I now request Sheetal Deshpande sir to felicitate CA Aditya Dikshit sir, plant head of Mahindra and Mahindra. I now request Honorable Nitin Garge sir to felicitate Aditi Kulkarni ma'am. Thank you, sir. Let me start this debate with a small reference from each of the expert speakers. I would, with the permission of the speakers present here, I would now move over to Mr. Shankar Jadhav, sir. Sir, I would like your views on this budget in 5 to 7 minutes. The important points which you would like to highlight.
Really a strengthening budget for the Indian economy. It gives a short-term push and also give a long-term structural effect to the economic growth that we are seeing. In the last year itself, we have seen a huge amount of growth, and due to the base effect, this year we continue to do so. Am I audible well, or is it a double sound?
Yes, sir. You are audible, but the volume is less. We are working on it, sir.
Okay. So that's one. Second, the government has also kept its focus on various aspects that it has been doing so over the last few years, like for instance the green energy, the digital push, and one of the most positive things that you can see in this budget this time is that the push towards capital expenditure, an increase of 35%, is a sure sign that the government is looking at capex, and in turn that capex will lead to job generation, employment generation. And this kind of capex also gives a boost to further growth in the coming years. The market reaction also has been positive, as you can see, and the government has announced various schemes, including having more than 25,000 kilometers coming under the roads, the Gati Shakti scheme, etc. So, in all, I believe at this time, when the pandemic has taken its toll over the last couple of years, the budget has really tried to strengthen the economy and push forward the capex and the other projects so that we can see a good growth this year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would now request Dr. Mrunalini Deshmukh ma'am to give her views about the budget. Yes, ma'am. I think there is some communication problem. I will move to Dr. Abhijit Kulkarni, sir.
Sure. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Am I audible properly? Okay, perfect. All right. So I think being a financial services professional for a number of years internationally, I think I was really inspired by some of the facts from the budget, and I would perhaps focus on 2 or 3 main areas. I do agree with, I think Mr. Shankar already said in terms of the capital expenditure and how it is likely to give the boost to the overall economy. And I think that is kind of evident into the bounce back in the GDP numbers. What I was perhaps more impressed with is the what we internationally we call as a like central bank digital currency or CBDC. So RBI or the government is trying to push towards that, and as early as perhaps next year. So that was quite inspiring. So the introduction of the digital currency will clearly help the overall digitalization of the economy, and it could, again, without touching any political issues in it, I think it could solve many other problems faced by the economy. And the other thing noticeable is also moving the digital banking in the rural areas as well. So that was another impressive thing, which I think can give the boost in the longer term. And other than that, I think perhaps from the fiscal point of view, I think the growth in the GDP is of course quite vital, and the recovery from pandemic so far looks very good. The other impressive thing is perhaps the inflation. And when I see the internationally, I think inflation is perhaps the biggest worry this time. Most of the people, I think you would have seen the drop in the capital market in Jan, which has partially recovered again, but that drop was largely on the back of the announcement from the US regulator, which is the Federal Reserve, about interest rate rises and tapering their all the quantitative easing programs. Luckily, that impact is perhaps not as large as in India because the inflation is still under control, which is I think really commendable thing. And I personally believe that may be largely because of the supply chain is not as disrupted in India compared to some other countries. That's why the inflation still looks under control. Having said that, I think the oil prices and the overall energy crisis worldwide, I think is something to watch for.
Thank you, sir. I will now move to Dr. Mrunalini Fadnes. Madam, I request you to present your views on the budget.
Thank you so much, sir. Good morning to one and all. I'm very happy that the Munje Institute is organizing such a wonderful webinar to connect all of us what is the status of the present economic situation and what budget is exactly want to say regarding the growth of our overall economic development. I want to say that budget is not like isolate sort of thing which is coming through a set of some issues. It is also connected with the economic survey which has been presented just ahead. It is also the part of National Health Mission because a lot of things has been said about the health. So whatever the health mission status has been given in that survey, that is also important. It is also the part of new education policy. Whatever the policy has been stated in 2020, that has also been reflected over here. It is also the part of Center of Monitoring Indian Economy, and that is CMIC. So that is also giving lot of inputs related to the employment issues and other issues which is related to the industry and banking system. So I definitely feel that lot of efforts has been taken in this particular budget, not only from the today's perspective, but also from the long-term issues. So the trickle-down theory of the economics, which shows that food should reach to the last person, or it should be near to all people. So that type of growth or the welfare program has been introduced in a very good set of manner. And along with that, lot of issues which is related to the road development, highway development, as well as the energy, climate change, technology, fintech. All these things are very important, and they have focused very well in this particular budget. Only thing people must be saying that this budget should not be turned up like just announcing various things and we are not implementing it properly. But considering the last 4-5 years system, we can say definitely the process of implementation has also been taken very well, and I hope that the 4 pillars which has been focusing on the Shakti, inclusive development, productive enhancement and investment for different type of sunrise objectives, energy transition, climate change, and the last one is the financing of investments. That all issues are very important from the issue of development of our economy, and I feel the inclusive development, which is most important part because of the COVID situation and all the issues we have to carry over when we are thinking about the little, you can say the less investment in Mandrega, less investment in other areas, but that is, I think, correct sense, because lot of issues which has been taken by such social support was not carried out, not implemented well, and hence it is proper to give promotion to the in a different way, so that the inclusiveness should reach to each and every needy person. And on that basis, they have also focused upon the Kisan issues, the farmers issues, and very small issues like how the millets can be improved, how the natural farming can be improved. All these issues will definitely help the agri system. Similarly, they have also talked about the university systems, the education system. The new education policy has talked a lot about the improvement of the educational areas, and therefore the formation of digital universities, formation of different type of agents, which is very close for the students to grow in a natural way, skillful way, as well as to move for the startups. These are the things which they have taken care. And I hope if this process is working as it is expected, definitely it will reach to the lots of people, and India will definitely move in the verge of the high development. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, moving to our expert speaker present over here, starting with Agrawal sir, I would request you to put your views about the budget to our audience. Thank you, sir. I'm representing on behalf of Sayadri Farms, which is one of the largest farmer producer organization working in fruits and vegetable domain. Today, our chairman, Mr. Vilas Shinde, I'm representing on his behalf. So I'll be talking more on the agriculture sector related announcements in this budget. Some of the like good announcements which are made in this budget related to food safety, wherein along the bank of Ganga River, up to 5 kilometer radius, the farming practice, chemical free farming practice, is what announcement has been made, and the provision, budget provision has been done for that. That's a very welcoming approach. Second, another big thing like 2023 has been announced as the year for millets. It's an international year for millets, and government has put in a serious thought that post-harvest management for millets. And so India was known for millets for many years, and but we were lacking in terms of marketing, branding of millets. And we, after the Green Revolution, we moved to other crops, back to the ancient practice, which is a very welcoming approach. Another announcement related to increase the production of oil seeds. This is also a very welcoming thing because we are dependent on oil imports, and this will reduce our deficit, and at the same time, this will enhance the income for the farmers. So that's again a very welcoming thing. A budget has been allocated for support of startups. So along with NABARD, to support startups which are working in agri-tech space, or which are supporting farmers and FPOs or agri-machinery. So that is again a very good approach to promote these startups who are working in agriculture space. Another, since we are sitting in the university, so one important announcement, a revision of the syllabus, which is the most important thing. The syllabus of agriculture university is not being revised for many years. So that is getting revised, and more emphasis is towards the modern agriculture, natural farming, zero budget natural farming, organic farming. So that's a very welcoming thing announced in this budget. Apart from this, they are linking rivers, so that linking of rivers, that project is getting funded. And there is a 2.3637 lakh crore of MSP is going to 1.63 crore farmers, which are growing wheat and paddy. So that is another step which government is announcing. Thank you, sir. Now, I would move to Aditya Dixit, sir. He is a representative of automobile industry. As we all know, Mahindra and Mahindra is considered as the mother industry in Nasik industrial area. So I would like to request Aditya Dixit, sir, to present his views on the budget and some particular provisions which he thinks are important from the industry point of view.
So first of all, Mr. Satish Kitkule and the management of the Dr. Munje Institute of Management, I am very much thankful to you for inviting me in this symposium. Second important thing just I wanted to tell you is I am not representing anybody. Whatever the views I am giving today to all of you, those are my personal views. With this disclaimer, I will just now start with the budget related thing. Overall, if we see this budget, it's a continuity budget, I will say. So, continuity, I mean to say the last year, whatever budget presented by the finance minister, this is a continuity of that budget only. So, most of the things and the most of the initiatives are already given in budget F22. whatever is a budget F23 carries on, that's an extension of the same. They are trying to build more efficiency in the system. They are trying to bring more of a capital infrastructure. They are trying to do many of the things which will help in a way to take this forward, and they are calling it as a Amrit Kal. So this is a Kal from next 100 years. So this is a 75th year of our independence. So from this 25 years will be called as a Amrit Kal. So this is one of the, I feel, is a good and important thing industry point of view. See, actually, in case of an industry, it is very important for them to have a consistency of any given policy. So, if the government is ready to have that consistency, and it is appearing in this F23 budget very clearly, whereby they are taking cue from budget F22 and they are carrying on that. Now, as far as the capital related, infrastructure related investment which they are going to do of around 7.5 lakh crores. So that investment is a very welcome move. In all industries, be it agri, be it automobile, be it any kind of industry, logistics is one of the very important part. So whatever the capital infrastructure government is trying to do, which is in case of roads, that is in railways, infrastructure is in waterways, it's a mass transport related. They have called it as a seven engines of a growth. So these are the seven engines which they are trying to have, through which their objective is very clear and which is very clearly stated. So currently, India is having a logistic cost of around 14% average. And if you see a worldwide developed countries or developing countries, the average logistic cost is 10% or 8 to 10%. So we are having a higher logistic cost, and that is means whatever the products which will manufacture in India, our cost will be higher compared to a market participants of all other OEMs as well as the multinational companies. So the objective is very clear in this case. They wanted to reduce this logistic cost, and it's a very welcome move as far as the industry is concerned. Just I wanted to give you a one quote. It's a quote of Ayn Rand. She is a famous writer from US. She's a Russian, but she's an American writer. So the quote is, "Money is only a tool. It will take you wherever you wish, but you need to keep in mind that you are a driver." And I feel that this government is very much aware of the same, and government knows that they are the driver of all these things. At the same time, there is one assumption in this budget, and which is a very important assumption which this government is carrying. See, they are having most of the things under public private partnerships. Having said that, it is assumed or they are expecting it from an industry. The industry will also contribute appropriately. So they are making all capital investment. Having said that, it is expected the industry will also be do a new manufacturing units. They will do multiple things which will give us a more growth. And finally, we wanted to have a 5 trillion GDP for India. So that is a goal which they are having, and it's a very clear goal. Having said that, I will just refer if you don't mind. So having said that, there are these seven engines are not given as a standalone. Okay, what government is trying to do that they are also preparing the mechanics or tactics to achieve the desired results of the budget. Having said that, that cannot be done standalone, and the economic transformation, seamless multimodal connectivity or logistic efficiency also cannot be achieved only by putting the money of 7.5 lakh crore capital investment. Having said that, they have coupled it with multiple initiatives such as a national highway network developing of 25,000 kilometers. That is one of the initiatives. Unified logistics interface platform. This is something very wonderful and good concept which they are trying to do, which will facilitate efficient movement of the goods through different modes, from road to railway or air as well. So that is what they are having in mind. Multimodal logistic path. This is also a very good and welcome move. Integration of railways and postal network. That is also a very intelligent and good move. Then mass urban transport. Then they are going to have 8 ropeway projects also around of 60 kilometers in hilly regions for the purpose of hospitality industry. Other than this, they are also trying to do a couple of digitization related projects. They are having a good focus on digitization. So now, if we see, they are trying to have the Kisan drones to make the crop assessment or digitization of the land records. Then they are also going to interlink the various portals which currently government is having, various portals which are related to employment, which are related to skill development. So these are the things they are trying to do. Startup related drone Shakti promotion they are trying to do, where they are trying to have a drone as a service which they wanted to do. So these are something very good and welcome moves. On the top of this emergency credit link guarantee scheme, which they are having, that they have extended till March 23. So that is from MSME point of view, that's a very good move. Har Ghar Nal Se Jal. So this is also a very good project, and it's a looks very simple, but I feel it's a very difficult project. Having said that, it's a welcome move. Also, they are having a Divine, which is a development initiative for Northeast. Then they are going to have a 75 digital banking units in 75 districts. So there is a couple of lists which I am having. I will not read all that list. At the end of my comments, I just wanted to say, see, having said that, these are some all the good things which are there in budget. But definitely, I am with all of you, whereby we were also expecting we will have some kind of a increase in our tax slabs, or maybe the standard deduction will be increased. So that has not happened. So I am also sad on that. Second thing, I also understand from many of the people ki Baba, currently the college students are also investing in cryptocurrencies. So they have also taxed that. And like you, all of you, I am also feel bad about that. Having said that, these are the good things which are they are trying to do. And definitely next session we'll see as to further additions to whatever the budget F22 we are having. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I move on to Aditi Kulkarni ma'am to present her views about the budget from the housewife's point of view and other aspects which she would like to highlight.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Munji Institute for providing me an opportunity to share the stage with all the dignitaries. So, uh, now I am today I am going to present woman point of view, how the budget is there, and as I am a housemaker also, as I am a mother also, I am the teacher of my students. So I am going to consider this particular budget from that point of view. So, firstly, I think this particular budget is a very developmental budget, and the main focus, main highlight of this budget is the sustainable development. Whenever we are going to consider or whenever we are going to solve any problem, we always consider in the case study first we need to find out the root cause. So I think the government has done it welcome bang on that to find the root cause. They are mainly focused on the rural development. So there are so many activities were considered from the point of view of a rural development. And even though as this budget is a very balanced budget, so because so there are each and every sector has been considered. There are so many provisions for the different sectors, and each and everything is considered at a micro level. They are considered at they are considered the root causes for everything. So as whenever we are going to build any building, we must have a strong foundation for that. So I think this budget is providing us the developmental thing for that. So we are going to have a strong foundation which is provided in this budget. So if whatever provisions, whatever scheme has been launched in this budget, if it is going to be properly executed, so whatever we are looking after for the Amrit Kal, so I think we are most fortunate after 25 years to see the Amrit Kal, and we'll have that particular excitement to how that Amritkal is going to be after 25 years. Now talking about the woman perspective, that whenever the woman comes into consideration, in this budget, the main focus is given on the safety, security, nutrition, because see, as being a woman, we need to play different roles. We are a homemaker, we are someone's employee at somewhere, sometimes we are a boss, some ladies are in the corporate sector working. So we need to manage everything. So when these particular things are going to be managed, so automatically we are having the responsibilities of each and every time thing. So in this budget, the main focus is given on the safety, security. So I'll just start with this provisions which is given. First, it is the Mission Shakti. So one scheme is launched, that is the Mission Shakti. It is for the self-help mission. So around 20,989 crores funds has been allotted for the Mission Shakti. So it is a self-help mission for the empowering of a woman through this scheme. And even though it is aimed at promoting security, dignity, and empowering the woman. So while I'm talking about the empowerment of a woman, this itself is a proud moment that one woman is a finance minister of our country, and as she is presenting the union budget in the parliament. I think this is the first main example of a woman empowerment of our country. So just consider, if this is the start, where will be after 25 years. So I think surely we are going to see the Amritkal. So the Mission Shakti is for the self-help group. So under that, some some two basic provisions has been made for the Sambar and the Samarthya Yojana. So Sambar is for the safety and security. Then the Ujjwala scheme. Ujjwala scheme is for the LPG cylinders. We see in the rural area, there are still the LPG gas cylinders are not available. They are doing it with some other modes. So because of that, some women are facing some health-related issues, as they need to burn there continuously. The fog is going to be there, so their health is going to be hampered because of that. So the Ujjwala Yojana is there, where the LPG cylinders has to be provided some special fund allocation for that. Then Swadhar Yojana, Swadhar. It is for the working women. This is the hostel facilities will be provided by the government, those who are the working women, so that if they want to leave their home, they need to move some another city, so they should feel safe. So if suppose this kind of hostels will be provided by the government under the Swadhar Yojana, so that women can give the Aadhaar to themselves. Then the Samarthya Yojana, under that we are having the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Abhiyan. So Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Abhiyan, priorly we are having that School Chale Hum Abhiyan. So because it is like, first in India, priorly we are having the gender discrimination. So mostly first we need to focus on the Beti Bachao, and then start giving the focus on Beti Padhao. Because priorly in our society there was gender discrimination. So it is like more we are going to move towards that, we are educating the boys more than the girls. But now this is not there. We are now, this kind of a distance is not there. So Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Abhiyan is there. So under the Mission Shakti, for the Samvar Yojana, it is the 100% funds has been provided by the central government, and for the Samarthya Yojana, the funding ratio is 60-40, 60 by the central and 40 by the state governments. Then another particular scheme has been launched as a Mission Vatsalya. The Mission Vatsalya Yojana is typically for the women whose husband has been died due to the COVID pandemic. So, as just because of the pandemic, that suppose the woman lost her husband, so the particular we are going to be providing, the government is going to providing the security to those women. So it is like, so they're kind of some under they're kind of 18 benefits and subdivisions are sub provisions are 5. So total 25 provisions, 25 facilities will be there for the women under that Mission Vatsalya. Even though special focus will be given on the widows or coming from the rural areas and the poor background. Because if suppose they are from the rural area, they are having the poor background, so entirely we need to provide them the good facilities. So that's why the mission Vatsalya is there. And there are some Rozgar Yojana, Gharkul Yojana, and Indira Gandhi Old Age Pension Scheme, Widows Pension Scheme. These are already we are having, but right now, as due to the pandemic has been begun and there is a huge loss for the society, huge loss for the our family, friends, relative. So these kind of the scheme has been launched, Mission Vatsalya. Even though the commission has also written a letter to the Mahila.
I request Aditi madam to just sum up. We have to open up the debate. Okay, in one or two more points.
So, okay. So there are so many schemes has been launched. So different schemes were there. So we need to. So this budget is a balanced budget, and mainly we need to consider even from the woman perspective. Har Ghar Nal Se Jal Yojana is there. So we find that at the rural area, women are walking miles and miles just to bring the water to their home. So I think this particular scheme is really helpful for the women living in a rural area where tap water is not there. So surely they will get that soon. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, starting with the debate on this entire budget, I will now move to Shankar Jadhav, sir. My direct question to you, because you are the head of BSC Investments and you know how the stock markets and financial markets work in this country. I would like to know from you firsthand that it is 5 days since the budget has been presented. How have the markets reacted in general to this union budget? Your opinion, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for asking the question. As you can see on the TV every day, the markets were volatile on the budget day, though they improved on that particular day. Over the week also, we have seen a very positive response. In fact, some of the things that we see, let me give you an example, that the Indian government through the budget also has supported the startup and the smaller companies, the MSMEs. Many of you may be aware already that the venture capital of PE investments in 2021 were approximately 5.5 trillion rupees. And with the support of the government, which is likely to make a fund of funds, already there exists a SIDBI fund of funds, but the other fund of funds, we expect this number to grow up. So which means that there will be more capital invested in India, which will lead to further employment and innovation. So the markets really look forward to that. But let me also warn you that out of the 5.5 trillion rupees, only 10% comes from India. So most of them comes from outside. And the external sector capital investments, the foreigners, they look forward to how they can support at the same time not be taxed very much. So the government has recognized this and they've set up a committee, expert committee, to reduce the friction in the VCP industry investing in India. So the capital markets have looked at it positively. The other factor that has happened is the capital gains has been capped and have been tried to get together the listed and unlisted space together. So those kind of incentives also help the formation of new companies, the innovations, and more employment likely to happen in India. Thank you.
Continuing with this, one more question I would like to add to Jadhav sir. Sir, am I audible to you? Jadhav sir, am I audible to you? Okay.
Hello, am I audible? I can't hear anyone.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we can.
We are just trying to fix a glitch in
I
1
have missed my
minute.
comment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think we perhaps just lost the connection with the main host.
Oh, that's what I think also. So we'll have to wait until they connect again.
Yeah.
Sir, we can continue with this topic. Sir, I would like to ask you one question more related with the financial market. Two decisions were announced in the budget. One was that the digital currency will be launched by the Reserve Bank of India, and cryptocurrency transactions will now be taxed by the government. So, what do you think? This is India's a formal entry into the cryptocurrency market?
Can I audible, sir? Can I audible, sir? Me? Sir, we are working on it in 2-3 minutes. Sir. Sir,
Jadhav sir, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are audible to me.
Sir, one question related with the finance sector I would like to ask. The government has announced that it is going to launch digital currency. At the same time, crypto transactions are going to be taxed. So, can we say that it is India's step into the digital currency, and what impact it will have on the financial market, sir?
First of all, in India, we have currency derivatives which are traded on the Indian markets, which use normal currencies, and they are normally paired currencies, in the sense the US INR rates, etc., etc. So derivatives are traded, not the actual currencies. The actual currencies are traded between the authorized dealers. The cryptocurrencies, the way people talk about cryptocurrencies is a slightly different than the way the cryptocurrencies are looked at across the world. The main positive or negative aspect of cryptocurrency is that it is not controlled by any authority or government. So if the government or the RBI comes out with some digital currency, it is still controlled by the government, or it's a sovereign fiat currency. So it is completely different from the cryptocurrencies that we see today. Second, the cryptocurrency or the digital currency that the RBI will launch is only in addition to rupee, so it will also be pegged with the rupee. So there is no difference between a digital currency and a rupee today, except maybe certain things. For instance, in the payment industry, if you see, suppose I have to pay a bill, and there is a place where I go to a window and pay the bill. So I require to spend, say, 20 rupees for the travel, and maybe half an hour to stand in a queue and give a physical check or cash. But if you do it online, they charge you as 0.5%, 1%, 0.9% of the total transaction value, which many times is higher for smaller amount of transactions, or it's very high for very large amount of transactions. So the digital payment charges should actually have come down. The government had got it down in the last budget, and they should mandate that the charges should come down. For instance, if you go and put your money into NPS, for instance, if you go there, there are few options. You look at the options and see what is the payment charges. So the government is most likely payment charges could come down, or the government could control them, because it's a digital currency and you would require to have the payment gateways the way they are structured today. So in my opinion, the digital currency will be very useful for the individuals and the corporates, provided the government mandates it properly and forms proper rules. But it is totally different from cryptocurrency. It has nothing to do with cryptocurrency. The charges that are put on cryptocurrencies, like any government would like to charge transaction taxes or charges on any economic transactions, the same way the government is charging the cryptocurrency transactions, and it is charging, made sure that the TDS is there, in which case the transactions cannot escape scrutiny, and the tax also is at the maximum rate of 30%. So I think both these taken together, there is nothing much for cryptocurrency, except that the fact is someone is now recognizing that there is a transaction in cryptocurrency which earlier was not recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I would now move to Fadnavis ma'am. The government has made important announcements in this budget. The one I think is very important is setting up of a digital university of world-class education. And also, the government has laid a lot of emphasis on virtual skilling labs. So, how do you think that these two decisions will impact the education sector?
Thank you very much for this question. important decision by the government to set up a digital university, and that to offer the world-class quality universal education. And that will be covering the personalized learning experience at their doorstep. I think this was very much waiting. In pandemic, we have all seen and I have all gone through, all the education system have gone
स्क्रीनशॉट घ्यायला
through
लावलेत
such type of activities. But when it has been considered to form a digital university, it will definitely open up various avenues to the vocational courses and such courses which is of the digital nature, and students can able to get their additional certificates, diplomas, even associate degrees along with such type of universities which will be framed under this special set. It is also necessary that various issues which is related to the quality education, that is the universalization of the quality education, that is one class, one TV channel, and that is probably known as PM E-Vidya. I think that is also very useful from the point of view of those who are not been associated with the various universities or the you can say the colleges. But one thing is very important, that the blended mode education is also important. We cannot totally dependent upon the digital system or the online system, but to some extent, yes, it is reaching to each and every part of the country. But similarly, wherever it is possible to have a blended education, some portion can be covered, like say 60% by the digital and 40% by the offline mode, or the vice versa. It has also been endorsed by the UGC that you have to choose. The university is supposed to choose such type of blended mode so that students can be benefited. But considering the present situation and considering the future approach also, I feel it's a welcome step.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I will now move to Dr. Abhijit Kulkarni, sir. So you being having a lot of experience in banking sector, two important decisions were announced by the government. Number one, 1.5 lakh, so it's a mind-boggling figure. 1.5 of the 1.5 lakh post offices will work as a core banking system, 75 district. So I would like to know what is your analysis, or what will be the outcome of this decision from your point of view.
I think both decisions are definitely welcome from the overall economy perspective, I would say. I think converting post offices into the core banking system and perhaps putting them in competition with the other commercial banks could be politically debatable, but I think the reason perhaps that is to ultimately promote the digital banking in the rural areas, because I think, as you said, the number, I think 1.5 lakhs postal branches, I think they already got the physical network, so all government is trying to do is essentially connect them with the core banking and then provide that digital facility to many rural areas which perhaps currently are lacking that sort of service. How that will, I think, ultimately play out in terms of service, I think with all other initiatives and good news from the budget, I think we need to wait and watch. But it is definitely a good initiative in terms of reaching out to the wider population in terms of digital services. And I think maybe it is also linked to the digital currency point I think we discussed earlier. And again, as Mr. Shankar mentioned, that is completely different from the crypto assets. But if and when government is successfully able to launch the digital rupee, I think that would perhaps wipe out all these other initiatives, because then what it means that people like you and me can have the digital currency account directly with the RBI, which is very different initiative. Many central governments and central bank across the global economy actually putting their efforts towards the similar kind of initiative. Some are going in the path of, okay, people can have direct account with the central bank. Some others are still trying to bring the commercial banks or even public sector banks in case of India in the middle picture. How ultimately RBI will do, I was trying to actually find some information after the budget announcement, but so far I haven't managed to see some more announcement or information from RBI. But since I think it is heading in the right direction, and depending upon RBI's final proposal, I think we would perhaps know what would be the ultimate impact on the common person like you and me.
Thank you, sir. Now I would ask a question to Aditya Dixit, sir. Two decisions were announced in this budget. which are very closely related with the automobile industry. Number one, that the fuel which is unblended, now it will be attracting 2 rupees per liter more as excise duty. So it is now the responsibility upon the petroleum manufacturing companies to use maximum ethanol in the petrol. Now, according to, if you are your fuel is going to use will be a combination of ethanol and petrol, don't you think that the automobile sector will have to invest more in R&D of the engines and the working of the companies? So ultimately, you will have to be, shore up your expenditure on research and development.
Yeah. So as far as that fuel related thing is concerned, see, this has not come for a first time. So if you see BS3 to BS4 and BS4 to BS6, so automobile industry changeover. Normally, if you see a worldwide standard, so from moving from BS4 to BS6, normal industries over all over world, will say the Europe, because most of the automobile giants are from Europe or Germany. So if we see how much time they generally take to shift from one standard, so BS6 is a Bharat standard, but it is similarly the Euro 4 or Euro 6 standard is also there for Europe. So when they move from one standard to another standard, so they normally take 4 to 5 years. But in India, we are able to do it within a 1 year. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing, there are continuous changes are happening. If you see a thing, whether the diesel and petrol is polluting, and because of that there is a climate change or not. But having said that, if we keep it aside, all these changes are happening for a betterment, and that is also in the interest of the industry as well. So when we say ki there will be a changes in the fuel, so industry is already aware of that. Industries are already working on that. If you see all the OEMs, those who Indian OEMs will say first. So all the Indian OEMs are also investing heavily on R&D is concerned. Now, if we talk about our Indian OEMs, normally they spend overall their whatever the expenditure which they are incurring other than the material cost, out of that around 15 to 20% cost they spend on R&D in any given point of time. If they are spending this much cost on that R&D, so they all know all these things, they are already working on these things. I don't think it's a something surprise to an industry. So they are aware of that, they are working on that, and we over a period of last 4 5 years we used to all these things, because I already said to all of you ki from BS3 to BS4 and from BS4 to BS6, that's a very big changeover for automobile industry. Having said that, we are able to do both the changes in a record time, and without extension of any timelines we are able to do all these things. So I am very sure that there is no issue and will be able to do this.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to shift to Agrawal, sir. Sir, you being working at the ground level, you know the farmers' issues more than anyone of us. I would like to know that there are two decisions which are announced by the government. One is the land records are going to be made digitalized. So right now, it is in a process. But once all the records in India of land are digitalized, how it will impact the in general working of the farmers, means getting credit, mortgaging their farms or development. One, that point of view. Secondly, government has allotted 2.37 lakh crores as direct payment to 1.63 crore farmers through their direct transfer of benefit. So this another decision, and the government is promoting chemical-free natural farming throughout the country, and they want to first promote it in the Ganga region. But sir, there is another impact. The same experiment has been done in Sri Lanka, where they shifted to organic farming in a very short time. They completely banned using of chemicals and pesticides, and we have seen that the production has drastically decreased. So, how do you make up of this decision? What is your opinion about all? these decisions of the government specific to agriculture sector?
First, I'll touch upon this part. 2.37 lakh crore, which is going as a MSP to farmers. We have a contrarian view to this particular thing. Actually, this announcement coming at the time when there are elections happening in UP, Punjab, might have a different meaning. This benefit, if you look at the MSP support currently goes to 23 crops, but commercially important crops are more than 100 crops. So out of 100 crops, 23 crops get a MSP support, and out of that, wheat and paddy gets almost 97% of the support. And this is basically, this procurement is happening mainly in Punjab, UP, Haryana. Now, so how many farmers are actually getting benefited by this across the country? I think that is a question mark. Second, what is missing is the farmer income actually increasing? The basic problem I think we all need to see, and which is still missing as a part of this budget is, are we looking at farming as a business, or what is the focus of the government and entire everyone? Like, are we looking at farming as a business? Whether the farmer is like more than 90% of the farmers have a loss-making proposition, and nobody wants to work in farming. There is a major drain out in this sector. Nobody wants to work in this sector. Now, until unless we solve this fundamental problem, this won't improve. So I think in 2016 we announced doubling farmer income, and 10,000 farmer producer companies would be formed. This announcement was made. On registrations are getting done, but how these products would get marketed? What is our preparation for the post-harvest management, marketing and branding? I think that is what is required. So how to improve the income of the farmers? That is missing in this still approach. How to improvise their income? What should be the focus on which crops? That is something which should come out rather than just MSP support. I think that is a cancer. MSP support is not the right thing.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to shift to Aditi Kulkarni, ma'am. My question is very simple. The government has kept the income tax rates unchanged. Many of the people were expecting that there will be some relief, but it has not changed. How do you take this decision?
Thanks for the question. Priorly, we are having the slab rate, which is differently for there are different slab rates were considered for the individual, for senior citizen, and the priorly then the separate tax slab were there for the women also. So there are different rate of exemption were there, and now when from the last consecutive 2 years, the slab rate exemptions rate has not been changed, and as I am representing the individual, the common man, so it is like when we are going to consider the slab rates has not changed. When I am going to look the slab rate, even though the income tax regime, I am most fully focused on the ATC deductions. So even though the ATC deductions has also not been changed, there are the limits for the ATC deductions were same. I am not getting any benefit from that. So that is one of the negative point I will consider from this budget. Though it is very balanced, but I think there might be chances the slab rate might be changed afterwards, or they may took it, or there might be chances some committees will be formed to consider the change in the slab rate. But right now, from the consecutive 2 years, the same slab rate where there the exemption limits will be same. Some reliefs were given in some section. So though the income tax slab rates were not changed, but some reliefs were given when we are going to consider the low percentage of income in housing loan, or there are deduction in the duty, custom duties has been considered, or importing of a machineries that is going to be somehow cheaper now because the custom has been somehow reduced. So some particular things are going to be changed. So though our income slab rate is not changed, but some particular goods, as the import duty has been somehow reduced, or to give the boost to the gems and the jewelry sector, gems and the diamond sector, the the duty has been raised. So this is they have done. So we are hoping that for the next year we will get some new slab rate with the new exemption, and hoping best for the next ATC deduction, which we are always have the excitement that we'll get some more relief in the 8th section. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I will now move to our speakers who have joined from the virtual mode. Mr. Shankar Jadhav, sir, I would like you to throw some more knowledge on this topic, that the government is planning to keep the financial fiscal deficit of the current year to 6.9% of the GDP. So, is this achievable given the number of projects which the government has committed, the sources of revenue, as well as the capital expenditure and the revenue expenditure which the government has to incur? Do you think the government will be able to achieve this target of 6.9% fiscal deficit for the current year?
The way the government has gone about, I am very hopeful that not only the government will achieve the target, they will do better than that. And remember, the main reason is because the revenues are much higher than what the government has conservatively estimated. Even though, in my opinion, there are many costs which are also understated. For instance, the Manrega contribution over the last year itself is going to be higher than what the estimate shows. The next year's contribution has not been increased. It will have to increase because that's one of the elements of the nature of Indian economy. But government is going to earn quite a lot, and they will achieve. I also have one comment when someone mentioned about ethanol blending. See, the automobile sector is considered to be a leading indicator of the economy. The automobile sector has been given a little non-hearing, I would say, because on one hand, we want electric vehicles to be proposed and researched on and focused on. And the other hand, we are asking the industry to invest R&D efforts in something which is totally different. So the government has to be very clear what should the focus be on, because any industry would not like to put money into something which the government is not going to stress and maybe phase out soon. So in my opinion, if the government is going to reduce the dependence of Indian economy on normal automobiles and go for electric vehicles, they should rather focus on that. And it also, if people want to know, it's actually energy. So when you have plant-based ethanol getting into automobile sector, though it reduces our dependence on foreign currency and the oil prices, etc., it is a very dangerous situation because we already are utilizing agricultural land to provide food to our citizens. If that amount of agricultural land used for food production is diverted towards ethanol production, either through direct food, vegetables grown or food or grains grown, or through class ABC, molasses, etc., it is still going to be a burden and it uses a lot of water. We are a water scarce country. So we have to look forward to electric vehicles as a possible way to go ahead. And the government is also doing on hydrogen. So both these things, I think the vehicles will go ahead. And fiscal responsibility management, this government has largely adhered to. Though they had, during the pandemic, had a chance that they could have had a higher fiscal deficit, they have contained it well. I don't see much of a problem on fiscal deficit, especially even if the deficit arises, which I don't think will arise. If the capital expenditure is going to grow by such an extent, I would be happy. What I would be concerned is about the interest rates, for instance. Already you can see that the 10-year GSEC rates, the bond market is going a little haywire because the bond markets were expecting around 12.5 to 13 trillion as borrowings. The government has suggested approximately 15 trillion. And the government has moved to market scenario. So you will see that the interest rates will go up considerably. Of course, this will benefit the common investors also who are into fixed debt, especially senior citizens, etc. but that makes the businesses costly. So that will have an effect on various industries, and we have to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I would now move to Fadnavis ma'am. Although I know you are from education sector, but I think given your vast research area and your knowledge, the health sector, I would like to particularly ask you. The mental health of citizens has long been a very neglected area in our country. Means, given the large population of our citizens, and due to change in the lifestyle, we are seeing a very large increase in the stress related ailments, depression, suicidal tendencies, and so many other issues. Now the government has very ambitious program, national digital health ecosystem, which has been rolled out, in which national telemental health program has been launched. So by the way of mobiles and for toll free numbers, the services of experts are being made available to the citizens of this country and the students. And the Indian Institute of Information Technology, Bangalore, will be providing all the technical support to this program. So I want to know your views how this initiative of the government will impact on the health sector. What relief it will give to the citizens of this country.
The question I will put in two sets. First is the normal health system which is supposed to be taken care because of the COVID pandemic, and for that some ecosystem which is related not only to the digital mode but other modes which is related to the naturopathy areas, as well as it is also related to the area of upbringing of our Ayurveda and all that, that has also been considered from last year, and it has also been continued by considering that these type of things will be connected with the digital modes, and people can able to interact, can able to take guidance, can get some ideas about how this health system will be useful for that. So this digital mode, this is national digital health ecosystem, is a welcoming area. And another part which you have asked about, the mental health, I think that was the most worrisome part, which is everyone is talking about, and especially when we talk about the young students, those who are not able to reach to the different schools and colleges as well as the universities because of the lockdown, as well as in between also up to the third wave, there is an issue related to the mental system. So this telemental health system is very important. Only thing is that when we are online, may not it is possible to give all the issues which is related to health, because this is a very I can say sensitive area when you are somewhere mentally ill, or you are not able to get the correct diagnostic sort of thing that what exactly supposed to be given. But yes, prima facie, this has been started, and then it should be rolled down to some of the areas where they can move to the such psychologists and students if they need, or even other people if they need some psychologists to have offline interaction with that. That will also be needed, what I feel, because we had a research project on happiness index that students have clearly told us that it is very necessary to have one-to-one interaction. So to begin with, to collect the data, to understand what type of mental health they are facing. More or less, it is related to their own future or the understanding of the present situation. And another area which is related to the students' dissatisfaction, that whether this digital degree is going to give some good boost in future for getting employment or moving for the self-employment. So these questions are there. If we are moving to such areas where the students really need, because primarily we have this situation that everything we can discuss with our mentor, we can discuss with our teacher, and those who are having this type of facilities in their institution, that type of thing was quite easy and natural. But still, considering this digital health ecosystem, I hope all these important things will take care, and there may be a separate slot for one-to-one interaction as well. And if it is not, then some offline areas can be given in future. I think that will be the wonderful idea if we can work on this. But other issues which is related to the health workers, which is closely to Anganwadi workers and the Nari Shakti, I think that also need to cover, because considering the area or the vastness of our young generation at present, and they are involved in the higher education as well as in the school education. And one more thing, which is they are also the inclusive part, which is related to the vocational education, that is national skill qualification framework also says about the same thing. So those who are studying over there and not getting all the facilities, and they are having some mental issues, I think this can be rooted out at the beginning with this online system, a digital system, but gradually some part will.
Madam, some part of your speech was not audible. Now I will move the debate to Aditya Dixit, sir.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Can you repeat the last part of your speech?
Yes, sir. It was only partially.
There was some technical problem.
Okay. So should I repeat or can
No, just the last part. Last part you were saying about the in general health sector. So that part, if you could repeat, ma'am.
So in general health sector, it is what I was saying, that students also are in a different section of the society studying for skill courses, studying for like practical related courses and theory courses. In some areas, this system should be like this, that prima facie they can get the idea from this telemental health system and exactly what they're supposed to do. But when they will need one-to-one interaction, some platform should be given like offline for them, and some psychologists can be appointed or can be given to the universities or to the colleges, so that this like personal linkage or the thinking on what type of issues should be covered for the young generation, that will be most useful. And last part which I would like to say, that we are having lot of big population, 64% of our population, those who are young, and they need such type of support. So initially this is good, but this need to be expanded from the point of view of the considering the demand from the students, what exactly they want, the correction in their mental system or the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Now I will move to Dixit, sir. My question is regarding the Atmanirbharta in defense. The government, as we know, given the challenges which our country is facing, we have made the government is very clear that we must be self-sufficient in defense sector production, and it's highly risky to depend on imports from Western and Russian countries or some other countries. Now they have allotted 68% of the capital procurement budget sector. The opening up of the defense sector, 68% of the capital procurement budget for the domestic industry. And they have also encouraged R&D startups for industry and academia. So with 25% of the defense R&D budget, it is marked for this decision. So how do you look at this decision?
Yeah. So first of all, first I will talk about that 68% of spend on defense, which government is going to do. That will be from Indian companies. So that is, I think, that is a very good move. Already, many of the companies are having their defense-related divisions as far as the automobile is concerned. So all the Indian OEMs, they are having a divisions which specifically deals with a different kind of a thing. So, for example, in case of a Mahindra, that Vajra is one of the vehicle you will be able to see in a lot of Bollywood movies normally. So that vehicle is manufactured by Mahindra. So such divisions are already there. Having said that, if government is going to procure 68% from Indian automobiles, that will be a very good situation. Having said that, as far as the other procurement, which is arms and ammunition, I may not be able to comment on that. But definitely, whatever the 25% related R&D, which government wanted to have a public-private partnership, whereby the various educational or IITs or the institutes and along with the industry, they wanted to have that. So it's a welcome move. I don't think this everything will happen over a period of 1 year only, because see, policy preparation is a one thing, but actually doing something on a ground, it takes some time also for industry as well as the government machinery also. So considering these are the two things which are framed by the government, these are good. Having said that, it will take some time maybe. It may happen, it may not happen, but definitely from an industry point of view, as far as the automobile industry is concerned, companies are already having a various divisions, and they are already working on many of the things as far as the vehicles or automobiles are concerned. So definitely it's a good move, and it will companies will benefit from it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Now I move to Kshitij Agrawal, sir. Two important decisions were announced in this budget. The interlinking of the rivers in India, which was a project which was initialized very old 50 years back. And again, the first India government tried to implement it, but due to the short tenure which it got, many of the things could not happen. But now finally things are working on the ground. The Ken and Betwa rivers, they are being linked, and for that purpose, 1500 crores rupees have been allotted. Now, if this project goes on as per the plan of the government, or the major linking of the rivers, how it will impact the agriculture sector? So, can we see that a drought-free country, or can we see that even if there is a shortage of rainfall, the agriculture sector output will not be affected? Can we move towards that scenario?
Actually, this is a very welcoming thing, and I think this government is quite committed on this subject. The river linking project, and I think they have prepared a DPR for linking of 5 other rivers also. That is like main rivers of the country. So the linking of river definitely is going to strengthen overall agriculture economy, because water being the most important resource. If water management is done, I think that is the biggest challenge whenever a farmer plans any advanced farming. So when we talk about horticulture, water management is the most important part. And in our country, I think conventional crops which are done, still majority of the farming is like on the seasonal rainfall dependent farming. So that's why farmers are doing the traditional farming. But with this initiative, more and more horticulture will which get promoted, and that is where the farmer makes more money. These are cash crops wherein he makes more money. So definitely this is going to benefit the overall economy.
Yes, sir. Now, I open this debate for the audience. If you have any questions, kindly raise your hand. I request the panel members, they can answer your queries. So, anyone from the audience has specific questions for our expert speakers who are joining us virtually as well as those who are present. Anyone, you can start. Yes, sir. I request the student assistant to kindly give the mic.
Thank you. This is good opportunity to interact in such a learned platform. Thank you, Dr. Munji Institute and Management. My question is to Honorable Vice Chancellor Fadnais Madam. As I am a student and teacher for 30 years, very nice inception of a digital university and digital learning. We are already with the draft of National Education Policy where 20,000 crores of rupees are already set up. And any policy in India must be politically, legally and socially accepted, then only it will be workable. Already state government has set up their own commission with a very renowned educationist. First question, if digital universities are there, then what will happen to digital teacher? Can we equip with that? Number one. Number two, can there be access to all my rural students where there is very electricity and no internet connection? My third question is reserved on your answers. Thank you, madam.
we are in the transition phase where we are moving to such areas where the students should get such type of platform. But considering just 2 years backstory, when it was the same question was asked, whether the examination will happen online, whether the classes will happen online, what will happen. But everything within a 3 months, our adaptability was so fast. We have got a lot of potential to move ourselves for digital. But your question is also correct that whether it will reach to the rural areas. Yes, there are some gray areas where we need to work, and I think when new education policy is focusing upon with the tune of 20,000 crore rupees to be spent on different type of educational system, I think when this budget is thinking of very fine areas like they will move to the border areas, they will move to such type of villages where it is necessary to have all facilities to be done. I think they need to think about this. And very recently, they have also asked from all of us that you should give or submit whatever the ideas you have by 15th February. They are asking to finalize the draft of a new education policy and its implementation. I think we all should tell the government that first priority should be given to the village students, rural students, and where the access is area, universities should reach. And this particular digital university, I think so, if they are having the development of rural system much in mind, they will definitely think on those lines. But we have to keep on telling from our side, students, all the stakeholders, students, teachers, parents, we have to keep on informing that this is very important for us. And I think the day will come, it will be overcome of whatever the lecturers we will have.
Answers. And what as a teacher or student I am looking with the young generation and young teachers is that it is a very nice employment opportunity. We should not tied up with all these government norms. We should come out of it, and these digital teachers can be a good opportunity, and this can be a good opportunity for student for employment generation. Secondly, when we are moving now for interdepartmental or inter-faculty, that is education in all faculties, then this is nice. This is my personal opinion. Is it correct?
Yes, sir, definitely. Because we cannot depend upon the government only. Definitely, we have to develop our own system, and gradually, institutes are moving towards that. Wherever the system is lacking or some facilities are less, I think that type of assessment must be done, and all systems should be made available to such areas so that students should not lag behind from such type of approaches. Otherwise, what I have said earlier also, the world class quality, suppose you want to give from such type of platforms, it is an easy way and it is a reachable way. Only thing that all the best quality is supposed to be given over there, and that type of preparations is very very necessary from all system which has been set up with the new education policy.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone, any question? I think Zade sir wants to ask the expert speaker some question.
Good afternoon, all the dignitaries. Myself, Dr. Sriram Yadav. I would like to ask the question to Agrawal sir. Sir, our country has progressed in almost all the sectors. But apart from that, some sectors are remaining like agriculture. Now the government has launched the drone technology. My question is that how it is implemented and what's their application as compared to the traditional things they have applied.
So basically, drone technology is new for our country, but it is getting used in other countries already. Some of the things what they are proposing out of this is, one is spraying of the nutrients. So when you want to do a spraying of the nutrients, drones can be utilized. That gives the right dosage, which is mainly a foliar spray, which you want to do. Second is again, if you have a pest and you want to do some pest control, then there again it is going to be utilized. Then Another thing is estimation of the crop assessment. Basically, what is the volume of crop which can come in this particular season, and accordingly sales can be planned. Accordingly, the rest of the things can be planned. So many digital initiatives are already happening in our country, and I think they are a major boost to the overall agriculture. That's why you see a lot of funding happening in the agri-tech space. So drone is one small part of it. Drone will not change dramatically everything. This is just one of the things which will be, let's say, enhancing the overall ecosystem. Thank you, sir.
Any more questions? Yes. Just pass the mic to sir.
Question is to Chartered Accountant Dixit sir, who has presented his views very professionally and academically. I congratulate you. Being a Ramdandi of this defense institution, I think personally that privatization of defense sector is very good move by the government, which was expected also, number one. Number two, when you says that industries are doing good in the research, let me put my plain view on this, which is based on the data. A very less amount of expenditures on research are made by the government, maybe 0.2 or something, number one. Number two, ISRO is making good move on this, that launching of so many satellites and that too privately. So indirectly, I can say it is already done in last year. May not be declared or halla gulla of it, but it is already started. It is good move, and ISRO has earned crores of rupees in that. It is good thing. I am not against the revenue of it. But what industry will do for us to build a research culture among our students, because it is very less. Just we have introduced the syllabus of research methodology in last year, that is MCOM, and the students reaching to that is very, very low in India.
Any of the members?
Yeah, so what you said, I agree to some extent. The overall spend on done by the industries compared to the overall turnover of that industry, that spend may looks very less. Having said that, now industry and overall the automobile industry is a mindful of this. If you want to grow in future, then you need to have some kind of a technology innovation which will take you forward or which will be a first of its kind. So based on this assumption, all of them are trying to do new things in industry. But if you see in normal course, whoever does the R&D and everything, so the Western world is, or the specifically the German vehicle manufacturers are doing this from years together. But in case of any industry, now if you see the automobile industry's age, of Indian industry's age, now it will be, we can say around 75 years. If you see the age of the German automobile industry, that may be more than 150 years old. So over a period of time, whatever the evaluation which has happened in that industry, which is organically happened, that happened over a period of time, which will same way happen in case of Indian industry as well. Having said that, I feel that the industry is mindful of this. They wanted to do that. Considering the available resources and the available manpower, they are doing whatever the best possible as far as the industry and the R&D is concerned. The question which you asked me about the private and education institute partnership and all these things, I may not be a subject matter expert in this case, but what I feel as far as the now if we see the engineering industries overall or the engineers which in India we are having, I don't want to offend anybody, but world over, if you see the standard and which the quantum and the numbers in which the engineers which we are having, so considering all these research related projects are generally done in premier institutes only. It may be IITs, or maybe top 10 colleges of engineering colleges of India. So these things are happening that way. Having said that, in case of engineers or any other educational institute, I will not say only it may be a pure science as well. So considering the education institute, as far as that standard and everything will improve, and the way the interaction between these two will happen, and the more practical oriented syllabus, more of a management related syllabus, more of a how to handle a business. Because in our education system, typically if you see, we learn a lot of things. And if I say about CA, so in CA they teach you multiple things. They teach you taxes, they teach you Companies Act, they teach you accounting, they teach you many of these things. Having said that, how to manage a business, what are the commercial aspects of the same. So these practicalities are somewhere I feel missing, and that is very subjective. So few people may be able to do that while they are studying, few may not be able to do that. So once over a period of time, these institutes as well as the students, they will be able to understand this age, how they will be able to apply their knowledge in real life scenario. These things I am very sure he will be able to take it forward, and definitely industry will also participate in such kind of an collaborations.
Thank you, sir.
Fully satisfied with your answer. Now my last interaction within this minute, that is with the Kulkarni madam. Madam, firstly, I was not expecting any change in slab rate because we Indians should not expect. We have just faced the pandemic and huge support is given by the government. So there must be revenue generation, and all unconventional ways are now found out by the government for the revenue generation. So nobody should expect, at least at this moment, there should be stability in tax rate. Number one, though I am from the higher taxpayer rate. And number two, very important is that the cryptocurrency is already charged, which is not the official currency. And see the amount of debt which we have to pay in future, and that we are doing nicely. So my personal opinion is that, sorry audience, but nobody should expect at least for 2-3 years any change in Islam. Thank you for interaction.
Thank you. One question to Dr. Abhijit Kulkarni, sir. Am I audible to you? Dr. Abhijit Kulkarni, sir. My specific question to you is: you working with the international banking scenario, and more particularly foreign institutional investors and foreign direct investors. What is the general opinion of the world, or how the outside business multinational corporations view this budget? Can you just sum up in 2 to 3 minutes?
Sure. I think my view is perhaps mixed here. I think although the FDI like investments are overall growing over the last few years or even like decades, I think we are still behind our peers in my opinion. And the reason I say that the slowdown perhaps we have seen in the 2020 and 21 is more driven by the pandemic, which I think everybody understands. But at the same time, there was one quick political perhaps news happening worldwide, which was the US-China tension, and we could have benefited actually far more foreign direct investment from that, which we couldn't. Some of that share actually went to the smaller economies like Vietnam and Thailand and Indonesia. So that is where perhaps the government needs to focus and bring more flows to India, because I think as an economy we have far more potential than some of these other smaller Asian economies.
Thank you, sir. My last question to Mr. Shankar Jadhav, sir. Sir, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are.
Sir, one very small provision is there in the budget, but I think it is very important. You are working with the legal department also of PSC, and you know better about it. The government has started the Center for Processing Accelerated Corporate Exit to be established for speedy winding up of the companies. Now, we all know we are working in the corporate sector, especially in India. Bureaucratic hurdles are they are quite irritating. So, if some business wants to wind up its operations because it is not financially able to work out, this provision of the government for setting up of a speedy winding up center, how do you think it is going to? Means they are moving towards a more market economy. You can say perfect competition, easy entry and easy exit. So what's your opinion on this decision?
See, in any organization or exit is a very difficult task, because when we start, we all try to do everything right and get all the legal hurdles cleared and we start something. But while exit, uh, when the organization does not do well and they want to stop that organization or let it die at that time, there are many issues that need to be sorted out. Some of those issues could be the debts that you have not paid, the liabilities that are not done. There could be some other litigation that's going on. So there are lots of hurdles before you exit. I think what government is trying to do is, if in case there is nothing pending, then why keep it a little big issue for organizations that want to stop functioning? For instance, suppose you decide that there is a certain technology which may work well, and you have a startup in that, it grows to a certain extent. At that time, you realize there's a competitive technology which could move better. So it's better to close down rather than let the company be there and someday it dies a natural death without the paperwork being done. So I think the government is taking the right approach to ensure that such things don't exist. And if the organization wants to wind down, they can wind up. I think it will be useful for those initiatives which don't have a future in some time or the other.
One more connected question with this, Jadhav sir, I would like to ask you. There is a provision in this budget that the government is going to set up an international arbitration center. We all know that litigations, commercial litigations in courts cost the business very heavily, and given the pace of disposal of the cases, it becomes a very big problem for the industry. So, do you think this decision of forming an international arbitration system, it is one of the alternative dispute resolution systems which is given already in the legal system, how it will help the industry in faster resolution of the disputes?
The government is trying to help reduce the number of litigations pending in courts. So the alternate or resolution systems are definitely welcome. Unfortunately, it is not the litigation system that actually troubles us. The people do not trust the results. They want to fight it till the end. And this has been seen not only in case of individuals and corporations, but even government departments and the government itself takes the case to the highest level possible. So until the Supreme Court decides on something, people don't want to rest. So I think that is a bigger issue more than just having an international arbitration center. Also, unfortunately, in the past, the arbitration decisions by various arbitrators or arbitration panels, the Indian organizations find it difficult to go along with it, and we've been contesting further in courts and other places. I think this international arbitration center also has to be carefully worded, and we have to see the experience personally. In my opinion, I have not seen arbitrations really speed up the litigation matters or do something better. Even international arbitration decisions are challenged in Indian courts. Sometimes the Indian courts do agree that the arbitration was useful and is the correct method to go through, and sometimes there are opposite results. So it's a mixed thing. Though the government starting up an international arbitration center is worthwhile. Also remember, it has been started in some place which is the International Financial Service Center, which today is growing. So it is still in a startup phase. So we have to have a look at what will happen in the future.
Sir, now all the good things have to come to an end. I thank all the panel members here present, both virtually as well as physically, and the audience, our society officials, our chairman, our director, my colleagues, both from our institute as well as our sister concern, Bhosla Military College, and other schools and units run by CHME Society. And of course, the students who have been working with us to make this event a success. I once again thank the panel members for giving their valuable time and debating and giving their views on a very important topic, budget. I think our minds are more clear now on how the provisions of the budget are going to impact the industry, the individuals, and the overall growth of the country. So I thank you all for participating in this symposium. I declare that this program is end. And once again, my sincere thanks to CHMA Society and our management for providing all the support to make this event. Thank you, one and all.